Here and a lot has happened since we last chatted yesterday. Kennedy quits. Anthony Kennedy quits the court. And to tell you the truth, I'm glad that Anthony Kennedy quit the court. This is the guy who gave us gay marriage. This is the guy who gave us Obamacare. This is the guy who gave us affirmative action. I'm for ending affirmative action because it's not, and it did not help the people it was tended to help, black people. It helped white people, Hispanics, Asians, all these other folks who didn't need any help. I've never understood how white women qualified to be a minority when, one, they're the majority in terms of population. Two, the white men got up every day and went to work for them, especially at the time in 1972 when affirmative action was implemented by Dick Nixon, Art Fletcher, Adrian Dove. White women were not in the workplace. But now all of a sudden they are economic and socially disadvantaged people. How in the hell does that happen? Black folks are so stupid. That's all I can say. They're always looking to pick on somebody, so they pick on the white male. I'm not going to go down that tip today, but you folks know what I'm talking about. The white man's to blame for everything, whether he is or not, unfortunately. But Kennedy quit. Kennedy quit the court. It's my hope and my contention that President Trump will appoint a justice that's right of Gorsuch, that's right of Clarence Thomas, that's certainly right of Chief Justice Roberts. You never know which way this guy is going. His life was so not cookie cutter. It was more like Stepford Wives. He adopted 2 kids. His wife, man, I tell you, that's a scary situation there, folks, when you look under the covers. Something I don't intend to do. But, man, it's interesting. It's interesting. Justice Kennedy retires and opens a pivotal vacancy on the court. Now, this is the thing that's really kind of stupid that's out here in the mainstream media. And is out here for us to kind of scrutinize. Democrats are trying to conflate a presidential election and appointing a president to pick his own nominee versus the midterms, where we may have senators who are changing. We may we may pick up new senators. No, that's not how it goes. The only reason that McConnell held up the Biden resolution. Remember the Biden resolution, Joe Biden, Mr. I am the Senate, next to Mr. Robert Bork, ex-Klansman, I am the Senate. They colluded to come up with that if a justice was to perish before or during a presidential election year, that the incoming president, whomever he or she might be, would be able to select the new incoming justice to the Supreme Court. Of course, we had some problems. Yes, we had problems, and so they thought Hillary Clinton was going to win. But this went back, even the Biden resolution is something that was put on the plate years and years and years ago. And I'm going to tell you exactly when it happened. I remember when it happened, but I don't want to be quoted out of context. The Biden resolution, let me put it here. I want to give you the real facts. And basically, it's about allowing the president to decide who the next Supreme Court justice would be, which makes sense. Well, they now want to make it, well, we should hold it off for the midterms. I tell you, I just don't find any redeeming value in liberals whatsoever. Maybe it's my bias, but it just doesn't make any sense. They're just so stupid. And the Biden rule, it's not a resolution. I'm sorry. It's a rule. The Biden rule. It's not an amendment. It's a rule. And when McConnell invoked it, who's the majority leader, people, they didn't have a problem. Why didn't they have a problem? Because they thought Hillary Clinton was going to win. And if Hillary Clinton had won, well, actually, I take that back. They did have a problem because Barack Obama appointed, God, I can't remember, but this guy, if he had been, if he had been the Supreme Court justice, we would still have unions demanding money from people who didn't want to be part of the unions, one, and certainly didn't agree with the union's politics, too. We would be assured that most abortions would still be legal, and that's not good. You know, I'm all for women to have choice, but after 3 months, you should make up your choice, whether you're going to conceive or abort that baby. Some people feel that it should be earlier than that. You know, I'm giving it 3 months. That's my max. But these late-term abortions, no, that's murder as far as I'm concerned. But I am pro-choice with the limit. Barack Obama appointed Merrick Garland, and they implemented the Biden rule. Said, hey, you know, wait a minute. They used Joe Biden's own words. So when George Herbert Walker Bush was president, Biden was chairman of the Senate Judiciary Committee, he explained that he intended to, the Biden rule is the Senate will continue to observe I don't know if you would call it a tradition, but it's the Biden rule. And it was, and this is something that Biden went to the floor in 1992 and said, well, you know, there was no Supreme Court vacancy to fill. There was no nominee to consider. The Senate never took a vote to adopt a rule to delay consideration of a nominee until after the election. But nonetheless, Joe Biden took the floor in a speech addressing the Senate president to urge delay if a vacancy did appear. But he did not argue for a delay until the next president began his term, as McConnell is doing. He said the nomination process should be put off until after the election of November 3rd, 1992, where we know that Herbert Walker Bush lost, Bill Clinton won, and, you know, then we got George Bush after Clinton. But many of Biden's words came back to bite everybody in the butt. And there's going to be a lot of debate about this new Supreme Court justice, of course. I think that they're great candidates. The candidate that I would like to see on the court is a man named Robert Young out of Michigan. He was a former Michigan State Supreme Court justice. And he's retired now. But he's too old. He's 67. We need somebody young, somebody who can stay on that court for another 30, 40 years. So that would probably take somebody who's in their late 40s, early 50s to meet that standard. But Trump kind of threw it out. He said, I want somebody to be on the court for the next 40 to 50 years. Well, that's a little optimistic, I think, but not improbable. I mean, he can appoint whomever he wants. And at the end of the day, you do not have to have been a Supreme Court or a judge or a justice at any time to be appointed to the Supreme Court of the United States. Now, they talked about now, all of a sudden, we want someone with judicial experience. What judicial experience did Kagan have? I can't even call her Justice Kagan. That's how little respect I have for her. What kind of judicial experience did she have? She was Barack Obama's friend, and she's gay. Supposedly. I don't know. But I do know this. The appointment of Sotomayor And Kagan, bad appointments. Bad appointments. Bad appointments as far as I'm concerned. These women don't add anything to the court. But they say that Kagan's not gay. So she's straight. So it doesn't make any difference. I don't care. As long as she gets the rule of law right, I don't care. Notice I said the rule of law right, as in right side. The appointment, though, or the nomination of a justice to fill Kennedy's slot is going to be interesting. Like I said, I just hope the person is right of Clarence Thomas and right of Neil Gorsuch and Justice Alito. Although I like Alito. I like Alito a lot. The reality is right now, President Trump is meeting with Vladimir Putin next month. And people are all up in arms about the president meeting with Putin. Oh, he's buddies with Putin. You know, I get so tired of the lies. And I think that's what the American people are right now. We're tired of the lies of Democrats. We're tired of lies from Republicans. We are tired of people lying to us as if we're morons. No mainstream media. We know exactly what's going on. No mainstream media. You can't tell us what we need to do. We know what we need to do. We know who's for us and who's against us. And I can tell you that there are not many people out here who are with us. There are a lot of people who are against us. Newsflash. President Trump is in Wisconsin to participate in the groundbreaking ceremony with Foxconn. Foxconn is an electronics and manufacturer. And they decided to open a plant here in Wisconsin. Well, why is that? Wisconsin has low taxes, has a job force that can do the job and trainable. They draw off of folks from Chicago. They'll draw folks from Milwaukee. They'll even draw people from as far away as Southwest Michigan, because there are no jobs in Southwest Michigan. Once Maytag and Whirlpool left that area, it decimated the area, decimated jobs, decimated the people, unfortunately. So the president's up there shaking hands, and it's on TV. He says, Trump broke ground on a facility that will provide jobs for 13,000 Wisconsin workers. 13,000. See, Foxconn's not stupid. They said, well, let us put a plant on U.S. shores, because they're going to wake up one day and just, declare that we cannot work with them. We cannot build, or we're not going to let their products come into our shores. And I don't have a problem with that. I don't have a problem with that at all. FBI agent says work not politically based. What else is Peter Strzok going to say? Peter Strzok was accused of exchanging anti-Trump text messages with his paramour, Miss Page. I wonder if she and her husband are still together. I would have gave that chick her walking papers, man. See ya. Gotta go. But, hey. And Strzok, he's, I hope they're both in family court and their significant others are leaving them for each other. That would be interesting, wouldn't it? But Lisa Page told Strzok at one time, don't call her anymore. Don't contact her anymore. The reality is Mr. Strzok went up on the Hill voluntarily, and he was not put under oath. He had a closed door interview, and then he's supposed to have a open door interview here shortly. But we don't know what transpired behind those closed doors. They say much of the questioning focused on the private missives he exchanged with Lisa Page, with whom he had a romantic relationship for 2 years, 2015 to 2017. Oof. Lord have mercy. The article that I'm looking at, Sheila Jackson Lee stated that he pleaded, or at least explained, that he had no political bias. Well, come back. We'll talk about that. You can call us and talk about it at 215-867-8255. 215-867-8255.
Red State Talk Radio is now available as a voice command on your Amazon Echo and Echo Dot by simply saying, Alexa, play Red State Talk Radio.
Red State Talk Radio on TuneIn.
Turn to every single American. Now, we've been hearing all these stories about sanctuary cities.
You can now find us on the Amazon Echo and Echo Dot, on TuneIn, on iHeartRadio, and we also have the phone apps in the App Store for your particular phone. And just in case we activated your Echo Dot, Alexa, stop.
Hi, you want to end those expensive cable bills for good? At VIP TV, we offer unlimited HD quality streaming of over 900 channels on 5 devices at the same time for $39 a month on a pay-as-you-go basis. You can watch it on your big TV with Amazon Fire Stick or TV, Roku, Comcast, Android, gaming consoles, as well as laptops and tablets. You can use an HDMI cable to connect PC to the TV or smart TV via Wi-Fi. Once you've enjoyed the benefits of VIP TV, you can sign up for the service as a customer or business partner with a customized website, $39 or $59 a month. Visit orderviptv.com/The Reality Check. That's orderviptv.com/The Reality Check. Any questions, just email us at therealitycheckviptv@gmail.com. Stop wasting time and money and sign up now. Cancel cable for good.
Hey, this is Leonora Cravota from Red State Talk Radio for MyPillow. I used to have trouble sleeping. MyPillow changed all that. I now fall asleep within moments of my head touching my pillow. That's how comfortable MyPillow is with its patented interlocking fill. MyPillow stays cool and does not go flat. Plus, it's machine washable and dryable. MyPillow has a 10-year warranty and a 60-day comfort guarantee. MyPillow is also the official pillow of the National Sleep Foundation, and it's made right here in the USA. MyPillow is now offering Red State Talk Radio listeners a 4-pack special with 2 premium standard or queen pillows and 2 go anywhere pillows. That's 4 pillows for the price of 1. To take advantage of this special offer, call 1-800-961-9194 and ask for promo code RedState. That's 1-800-961-9194, promo code RedState. Put sleepless nights behind you with MyPillow, the most comfortable pillow you will ever own.
For the best night's sleep in the whole wide world, visit MyPillow.com.
Doing what we do, bringing you some hard-hitting facts about some of the things that's going on out here in the country and the world. We make comments about do international stuff too, do local stuff. We all over the board here. But the Strzok interview yesterday, Sheila Jackson Lee, in fact, she's been on my show a few times. She said he pleaded or at least explained that he had no political bias. And Ms. Jackson Lee said that Mr. Strzok described the text as intimate conversation between 2 intimate friends. Mr. Strzok was the lead agent on the FBI investigations inquiry into the Democratic presidential candidate Hillary Clinton's use of private email server. She needs to go to prison behind that. I told you about the sailor who was pardoned by Donald Trump. Speaking of which, here's a new twist that liberals are trying to throw in the mix on Donald Trump and the presidency. And, it's always, well, let's just change the narrative when it comes to the American people we'll just go whichever way we want. Double jeopardy is going to be addressed by the Supreme Court. I love it. So what that means is, to a number of us, is that I hope they rule that you don't have to deal with double jeopardy, because it's, okay. So you get sued by, or you get sued by, brought to court, prosecuted by the state. Then they turn around and the feds can prosecute you for the same offense. It's crazy. But the Supreme Court chose to take this up. And it's a great thing, because I hope they rule that double jeopardy means that you can't be tried by either the or by both the state and the feds for the same offense. Man, I tell you, it's like the travel ban. Okay. So the travel ban went all the way up to the Supreme Court. And, they tried to sell this thing that it was a Muslim travel ban. Well, Donald Trump may have said that, but what he said and what the actual document were two different things. He targeted Muslims from 8 countries that basically did not know who they were sending us, and, the whole 9 yards. The reality is, we fought that in federal court, and it was overturned. That's a great thing. But now the states could go back and, come at the president if they chose to, because there's no double jeopardy clause for that. The justices have ruled in the past that these are separate entities. These are separate jurisdictions, the state and the feds. I don't know. So I don't know. I can only tell you that it's interesting, and I wish that I could somehow play these clips through my headset. I'm trying to figure that out as I'm on the fly here, but hey, it's interesting. But I don't know why my thing hasn't flipped over. But I know why. Here we go. We'll do this. We'll go and put that online, and now I can go up here and play that little clip for you. Here we go. Okay, Donald Trump declaring victory. And he should declare the victory over the travel ban. So let's listen to this real quick.
Court decision today on Twitter. One word. Wow. He had much more to say later. Chief White House correspondent John Roberts has that part of the story.
Today's Supreme Court ruling just coming out, a tremendous success, a tremendous victory for the American people and for our Constitution.
In the cabinet room with Republican members of Congress today, President Trump with praise for the Supreme Court decision on his travel ban.
We have to be tough, and we have to be safe, and we have to be secure. At a minimum, we have to make sure that we vet people coming into the country. We know who's coming in. We know where they're coming from.
The ranking member of the Senate Judiciary Committee disagreed with the president and the majority opinion. In a statement, Senator Dick Durbin saying history will not be kind to this president's policies or the Supreme Court justices who lent their names to this troubling ruling.
Well, history won't be kind to Dick Durbin either if I have my way. Dick Durbin is my senior U.S. Senator. I call him Dirty Dick Durbin. DQ for short. And he put in a bill on vouchers to take $17 lousy million away from DC school children to attain vouchers to attend private schools, i.e. The same schools that Chelsea Clinton went to, the Gore girls went to, the Obama girls went to. Okay. Sidwell Friends is one. And these kids were able to go to Catholic schools and charter schools. He took the money out of the bill so they couldn't go. So when I got wind of that through some contact, what we did was we called his offices here in Chicago. We called the offices in D.C. and effectively shut down his offices. We had people calling all day. People were telling me, Mr. Butler, I called 3 times. I called 4 times. So now what the Capitol has done is they route you through a system, right? And, so you don't talk to anyone anymore. Some offices you do, but most offices you don't. You get a voicemail and you leave a message. And we shut that baby down, I tell you, because it was a dirty thing for Dick Durbin to do, to take that money away from those young folks. And don't talk to me about, anyway. That's a good folder for my book, though. But look, on these major decisions in Kennedy, let's go back to the Supreme Court justice, because I think it's important. It's very important. And excuse me for ruffling these papers. Okay. Okay. Let me call Frank. Frank, you can come on now. Oh man, that's fun. But look, right at the heart of these cases, man, Kennedy's been right in the center. When we talk about the travel ban, Kennedy, held tight. We had Thomas, far right, Gorsuch, Alito, Roberts, Kennedy. Gerrymandering, 9-0. Sports gambling, again, 6-0. You had Kagan going with the conservatives. Gay rights, 7-2. Gay and religious rights, 7-2. Okay. It must have been the cake baking thing. Telephone tracking, privacy, our privacy. Okay. Frank Vernuccio is with us. So we're going to bring Frank on. Hey, Frank, how you doing? Hope everything's well.
Charles, doing well. Great to be with you.
Hey, I'm talking about
And I'm coming from the congressional district where, of course, the socialist candidate overthrew a Democrat establishment figure here in New York, where Joe Crowley, who is destined to be Pelosi's next in line, lost to a young socialist candidate.
And have you heard this girl? She is so wacky, it's pathetic. I mean, she sounds like a freshman in college. She doesn't know anything about government. She doesn't even know how the government functions, man. She is just a fish out of water.
Well, there was a lot of ethnic identification in the vote. The district that she represents is about 50% Latino. And in New York City, there's been a phenomena. Even those elected officials, if they are black or if they are white, and even if they have a great record and done a lot of things for the people of their district, if they're rivaled by a newcomer, a Latino candidate, they do tend to lose.
Well, that's like L.A., Los Angeles, because you have this demographic. I've often wondered, Frank, how do people, leave Jamaica, Trinidad, those islands, the Caribbean, Puerto Rico, come up to the United States, and we don't know how they get here. It's like Harry Belafonte. Harry Belafonte claims that he's from one of the islands, right? But he never talks about gaining citizenship.
Interesting.
When I look at this guy, who's a socialist, it just blows my mind. I'm not even going to go into Harry Belafonte right now, but that's a whole nother story. I could talk about him for the next 2 hours. But he was, to me, he was a very close advisor to Dr. King. And I think that's one of the reasons and one of the failings of the civil rights movement, that it had all these socialists in the leadership, and they somehow thought that this socialism, which they bred, that everybody should be equal and everybody should have a chance and everybody should have the same things. I mean, that's, anyway, it's just so crazy that no one looks at the civil rights movement that way through that lens, but I think I'm going to. But look, this young lady, Alexandra, she obviously doesn't understand how Washington works. Nancy Pelosi's already said, basically, we're going to check her. You know, they gerrymandered Joe Walsh and what's his name, Alan West, out of their seats. Remember, they were very outspoken,
West, right.
very outspoken one-term congressmen, and they both lost. They both were gerrymandered out of their districts the second term by Republicans, by the way.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And by the way, that the whole concept of doing that sort of thing is really kind of repugnant. It really goes against the grain of what America is supposed to be about. You need better criteria to define congressional districts. We've seen that in a lot of cases around the country where it's used as political hit jobs, but nevertheless, the practice goes on. Well,
the gerrymandering case, it was the Supreme Court, where the Supreme Court ruled 9-0 that the legal limits on state officials, they had the right to draw voting districts for political gain, and they punted on two cases. 9-0.
Yeah, I mean,
when do you get to the Supreme Court?
The basis of the decision was actually that the fact that the states do have the right, it's beyond the purview of the federal government to really get into that type of district drawing. They simply don't have the constitutional ability to do so. One of the arguments that was made against that, of course, is that in some cases it could violate one man, one vote, but the argument didn't hold because it was something beyond the purview of the federal government.
Okay. It makes sense. But when we look at this, the new appointee, I said, Frank, that I want the new appointee to be right of Thomas, to be right of Gorsuch. I don't want any more of this hanging on the fence. I want to end affirmative action. I think it was a failure. I want to end late-term abortions. I'm for women to have choice up to 3 months. But after 3 months, that baby is developed pretty well, and I think that it deserves to come into the world.
That's an important point. And again, I believe that people of goodwill can differ on the question of abortion up to 3 months. Afterwards, let's call it what it is. It really is an abortion. It's infanticide. And if you recall, Charles, in Illinois, I believe it was President Obama, when he was a state senator, actually was supportive of a bill that called for postpartum abortion. In other words, the baby was actually born, but if the parents had decided to do away with it, well, that would be okay to do. And that's what we see in some of the more extreme cases of supporters of late-term abortion, or as it should be called, infanticide.
Well, and
let's not forget, too, that a lot of the abortion rights folks came out of racist impulses in the earlier part of the 20th century. Margaret Sanger, who's a hero of the Planned Parenthood group, thought that too many babies of color were being born, and this was one way to limit the population. Let's not forget where this comes from.
Well, that's true. And anyway, that's very true. But then we go down to sports gambling. I can't believe that Kagan sided with the conservative justices, and that was a 6-3 ruling. Then we have gay and religious rights, 7-2. That was the cake baking incident. And it's interesting how they try to conflate the cake baking incident to someone going into a restaurant and having dinner. I don't see the correlation there.
See the comparison whatsoever.
And Maxine Waters should be careful, because Maxine Waters is older than me. So there were places in Los Angeles that she couldn't go into. She couldn't eat at places in Los Angeles that was supposed to be this very liberal place. In fact, you should hear Kareem Abdul-Jabbar talk about places where he was denied service in Los Angeles as a UCLA undergrad until people recognized who he was. How could you not 7'2", walking around skinny, You know, you must be a basketball player. You must be that guy.
I have a relation with Kareem. Actually, we both went to the same high school. He graduated the year I started.
Okay. So you were a freshman when he was a senior.
Yeah, I was a classmate of another NBA star, Lenny Elmore.
Yeah, Lenny was pretty good dude. He was pretty good. Lenny was a pretty good player. So so Maxine should be careful. I mean, Frank, we haven't talked since Maxine, went into her rant about harassing Trump appointees. I mean, has she lost her mind? I mean, this is a two-way street.
Well, the short answer to that is yes.
But Frank, I think she's inciting violence, and don't these people understand that that's a two-way street? That nobody's going to be nonviolent. I mean, they think that this is going to be like Martin Luther King, and it's not. People fight back. That Martin Luther King stuff is, fairy tale. People are not interested. People are going to protect themselves, and somebody's going to get hurt.
The question really is, how is this extremism going to play out in the near future? I suspect what's happening is that you're seeing the gradual demolition of the Democrat Party. The party of Truman, the party of John Kennedy, doesn't really exist anymore. It's not a party of working class men and women. It's basically a party of white elitists, radicals from colleges and things like that. That's really where the party is going. In the 2016 campaign and the election, when you lose Michigan, West Virginia, and Pennsylvania, solid Democrat blue-collar states, I think that's got to tell you something about the trend of the party, and particularly the perspective that some of the party leaders have taken on things like trade. Look, let's be blunt. Whether you like Trump or not, the fact is he's dead to rights on the trade issue. The United States has been played for a sucker for a long, long time. And the people who have paid the toll for the politicians sticking their heads in the sand and ignoring the issue were working men and women. Ask the people of Detroit. Ask the people of the Rust Belt cities, which no longer have any jobs. When President Trump came out and tried to right that wrong, and Democrats reflexively condemned him for it and indeed mocked him for it, you've got to ask, what was the ideology behind it? Do they like the idea of American workers losing jobs? Hell, since 1998, 6.1 million American manufacturing jobs have been lost. That bleeding's got to stop.
Well, it doesn't if you're Hillary Clinton and Bill Clinton, because you get campaign contributions from the Chinese military, and nobody said a word about that. See, I mean, this is
now, Charles. You forgot the latest contribution, which of course is the millions in contributions that flowed into the Clinton Foundation from the Russians from Clinton's okaying the sale of uranium interests to Moscow.
Well, it's interesting that no one, and I do mean, they talked about that for a little while. Remember, that was on the table for a while. Whatever happened to that investigation? I don't know, because I just lost track of it.
Yeah, how is it that selling the basic ingredient of nuclear bombs to the Russians in return for cash contributions is not Russian collusion worthy of the FBI investigating? While on the other hand, Jeff Sessions meeting a Russian ambassador at a cocktail party in Washington somehow is a major collusion crime.
Well, it shows you either the stupidity or the hypocrisy of the I have no idea what that is, but it's obviously on my end. Hold on. I have no idea what that is. Frank, that is interesting. Go ahead, Frank. I'm sorry.
So if you look at not just contestable examples, but clear-cut examples like that, and then you ask where the justice system is, I think it's pretty clear that it's been compromised to the hilt. Now, I understand today Rod Rosenstein has been admitting that, yes, there were violations of FBI procedure that were committed, and some people should be punished for it. But this isn't a question of violation of procedure, not walking in the employee entrance as opposed to the public entrance. This really something that compromises the entire integrity of the organization.
But they're never going to go there because I have friends. I have a friend who told me, and he's very serious about this. He said the FBI is above reproach. I know people who work there, and they're just outstanding people. I said, but that still didn't mean that they didn't do what they did. And he's mad at me right now because I won't say that these people are above reproach. They're not. I'm like, they're not. They've shown that they're not.
Charles, there has been a growing dichotomy between the rank and file FBI personnel and some of the major political leaders of the FBI. You can go all the way back to 2001. A lot of the FBI agents were talking about what was going to happen on 9/11. They were ignored by the FBI leadership. And there are other examples like that.
Well, yeah, I have several friends that come on the show that are former FBI agents, and they've said time and time again that Mueller needs to be his investigation needs to be folded, and he certainly needs to be investigated. That's what these people have thought because of the way he's conducted this investigation. They also thought that Rod Rosenstein needs to go. So, and that's not Charles Butler talking. That's seasoned career agents who've been, assistant directors and things like that at the agency. So I don't know.
And the bottom line is those folks, people like Mueller, for example, who were in charge of the FBI when the so-called Russian collusion took place. Well, why didn't they do something about it at the time?
Why didn't they? I don't know.
That's the point.
But, again, they thought that Hillary Clinton was going to be president and it wouldn't matter. So have you heard?
And they all had stars in their eyes about the big appointment they would have gotten.
Have you heard anything about this testimony from Schrock yesterday? Have you heard anything out of the ordinary?
Nothing that we don't know already. I haven't seen actually the transcript of it. I'm looking forward to getting it.
Well, I tell you, Gowdy said, hey, just wind this thing up. End it. End the investigation into Donald Trump. It's tearing apart the country. I don't think that's tearing apart the country as much as the country's tearing apart itself. I think these young folks are somehow, they think that they're above the law, like the Antifa people and all these folks. They think that they can get away with anarchy. And, they're talking about, like in Portland, they've, put up 90 tents and talking about shut down, abolish ICE. Who are these people? I mean, do they really think that that they could abolish a federal agency by protesting?
I got an insight into that mentality in Washington, D.C. I was covering the inauguration. And after the inauguration itself, I began to speak to the protesters and ask them, they were carrying signs about impeaching Donald Trump. And I said, what exact grounds do you believe the president should be impeached on, or the new president should be impeached on? Mm-hmm. And they said that we believe that Hillary Clinton should be president. And I said, okay, understood. That's your preference. But what are the grounds for impeachment? And they said Hillary Clinton should be president. So the mentality of these folks is not anything having to do with the law or statutes or constitution or anything like that. Has nothing even to do with traditional politics as we know it. They didn't get their way, and therefore those who oppose them should be pushed aside. It's a really frightening trend in the thinking of too many people in this country. They don't get their way.
Well,
the hell with the Constitution. The heck with elective politics. They just want what they want.
Well, see, that's why Democrats want these new, ignorant, the people who are coming here are so illiterate, they have to show them how to use a toilet. These people who are coming here are so illiterate, they don't speak Spanish. That's who we're getting from Honduras. Nobody really wants to talk about that, but they were talking about it on one show on TV, and I haven't heard it anywhere else. I haven't heard it again. And so when you were saying that, these people, what they want. I was listening before I came on the air. I was listening to a comment on the radio, and this is how they started out. Hillary Clinton, who won 3 million more votes than President Trump, and they went into, they act like the popular vote means something, that it counts for something. It doesn't. And you know what I always remind people? I used to have it, and I still have it. I can find it. It's a little clip where David Axelrod is saying, hey, we're just trying to find the fastest way to 270. Remember when he said that?
I do indeed. The other part of that from a grassroots political perspective is that if indeed you were running on a popular vote concept, then the whole method of campaigning of the two candidates would have been different. Now, one of the things that the Republicans did in the 2016 presidential campaign was that they immediately wrote off a couple of states. They wrote off New York and California because they knew that it didn't matter how close they got. If they were going to lose those states, they lost those electoral votes, so it didn't matter. If you were running as a popular vote system, then you actually would have campaigned in California and New York because the numbers would have counted. So when you talk about the popular vote within an electoral college system, it's irrelevant. You just wouldn't have campaigned the same way.
Well, like I said, David Axelrod said, we're just trying to find the fastest way to 270. And now all of a sudden you have these morons running around. Well, Hillary Clinton won the popular vote by 3 million and blah, blah. Like that really means something. 3 million more.
By the way, David Axelrod has a really checkered history. He screwed up a lot of campaigns. He lucked out with the Obama campaign. It was a campaign I don't think he could lose. But he has been a particular mess for a long time.
Well, whose campaign did he mess up that we would know?
I'm familiar with his campaigns mostly in the state of New York, and they were for local offices.
Okay. Well, that sounds like Karl Rove. Anything that Karl Rove says, you have to do the opposite. Because I'm telling you, come election time, Rasmussen, Karl Rove, all of those people, man, they had the only poll that had Donald Trump ahead and had him ahead most of the time was the IBD Tufts poll. And that's the poll that I used.
And there was one guy on the radio who was talking about the inevitability of a Trump victory all along, and that was one Charles Butler.
Yeah. I've taken a beating for that. I tell you, man. It's been brutal. It's been brutal, and Trump needs to know that. But the thing is, Frank, it's just like with the Supreme Court justices, the people that Trump's put in office. He said that I'm going to go after trade. I'm going to put we're going to negotiate fair trade deals for Americans. We're going to have business guys there who are tough. And he's just following through on his campaign pledge, unlike most politicians.
Well, that's part of the whole problem with the hatred of Trump. The actually doing what you campaigned on sort of violates the rules of politics.
Well, you've been around this a lot longer than me. And you've been looking at this a lot longer than me. But I'm sure that Donald Trump's approval ratings is higher than 41%. I think Gallup had him at 47% last week. But I think that overall,
there's the embarrassment. Charles, there's an embarrassment factor. A lot of people, because of the strong media and social criticism, don't want to openly admit that they're supportive of Donald Trump, just like a lot of folks didn't admit to the pollsters that they were going to vote for him in the next election. And I think a similar thing we've seen in Britain with Brexit. The polls all said that Britain was going to stay in the European Union, but when the polls came out, the Brits actually voted to leave.
Yeah, when the votes came in. And, it's interesting that, like Britain, the cities vote one way, but the suburbs and the country people vote a different way. And I tell you, I took pictures of this, man. I drove from Ann Arbor to Detroit. And once I left Ann Arbor, it was all Trump Pence. Got to Detroit, Clinton Kane. I left Detroit, drove north up to Pontiac, all Trump Pence. I mean, the only thing that Hillary took was southeast, the metropolitan area, and a small sliver of the UP.
Yeah, if you take a look at a map, if you go county by county, it was a sea of red with a couple of spots of blue. So the county by county outline is a lot different than the total vote. If you're talking about changing the electoral system, if you don't like the electoral college, well, I guess you could always go by a county system.
That's what
and
I
that
say.
Would be even worse for the Democrats.
That was I've made that point a number of times that we need to go by the county system. If you win the county, then you give it to the candidate. If that were true here in Illinois, a Democrat would never win because the only county they win is Cook County. And sometimes they may get DuPage County, but most of the time it's just Cook County that carries the day for the governor's race here in Illinois.
Except, of course, for those machines that wind up in the bottom of the river.
Well, they're not so much machines that wind up in the bottom of the river as this is what happens here in Chicago. There were several incidents, and this happened to me at my polling place. I pushed for the Republican, and it registered for the Democrat, and that was going on with election systems throughout the state. And they said, well, we're trying to work on it. So it becomes a calibration issue, right? Okay. So if I push on the Democrat, does that become a Republican vote? No, that's a Democrat vote. But if I push on the Republican vote, it still becomes a Democrat vote. And so, I'm not for this electronic voting stuff. I don't like it. I've never liked it. I always thought it was a bad idea because people who have software can manipulate data, can hack systems, can write code and data that you never know was there. And that's why when I take a standardized test, I never put down my race. I always say other. And I always get high scores. When I put down my race, I get low scores. I learned that taking the Series 7. That's a test to become a stockbroker. And I took the test twice, and both times I put down my race. I knew the information. I knew it cold the first time I took the test. I knew it cold the second time I took the test. And something said, don't check the box black. Because I thought, I want to score. I'm black. I'm going to score highs. No. 70 was passing, Frank, and I got a 69 two times in a row. So I know that somebody's manipulating.
One of the things we've never heard in all the people pushing for the electronic voting machines and the computerized systems is how they were supposedly superior to what exists before. One of the excuses that I was familiar with from some of the people who did that in New York, who were pushing for the electronic voting, was that, well, we can't find the parts for the old machines. Well, you start the production lines again. There was never a real good reason for those machines, for the computerized voting. They're actually more or less protective of your privacy. They were a bad idea from the beginning. Someone got rich off the idea, but you have to wonder whether there's even more than that behind it.
Well, I think there's a lot of manipulation behind it. I don't have any confidence in these folks at all. From my little anecdotal experience with these machines. But, I would think that the integrity, and that's what we don't see anymore, Frank. We don't see, I always say that America's lost her moral compass. We've lost our integrity. And I think the next justice, in fact, I'd like to see there's going to be another replacement here soon. And I'm going to tell you who it is. RBG. She's going to die in office.
Ruth Bader Ginsburg.
She's going to die in office, and that's going to change the court for the next 40 years. Once Ruth Bader Ginsburg.
Interesting you use that timeline. Trump recently said that he wanted to appoint a judge who could sit for the next 40 years.
Well, I think that's being optimistic because he'd have to appoint someone that's 40, 45, right? And that's a little bit too young. Yeah. So, I think in looking for what we're looking for, and then again, it may not be. But Ruth Bader Ginsburg is definitely going to die in the next couple of years, and Trump's going to replace her. I mean, she's what, 88?
Or she becomes so incapacitated.
No, she's 88, right?
I believe she is, yeah.
So if Ruth Bader Ginsburg, let's see, RBG. I'm just putting here RBG age. Everybody knows who RBG is. She's 85. I just put in here RBG age. It came up 85. She'll turn 86 next March. And so Sandra
Bader Ginsburg is famous, of course, for giving that speech, I believe, in Cairo, where she said that if she were drawing up the Constitution for a new nation, she would not use the United States Constitution as an example.
That's true. She did say that.
That's someone who sits in our Supreme Court.
Amazing. Hey, Frank, but what do you think about, Ruth Bader Ginsburg being replaced? And that's going to be interesting, isn't it?
Well, as you said, it would change the entire tenor of the court itself. That would have a pretty solid non-left-wing majority for a change. And, one of the things that, whatever your political views are, you should believe that the Supreme Court should rule not on partisanship, not on ideology, but on the Constitution, on the facts. If you've read the dissent in some of the big cases that came down this week, the discussion, what's in law is called the dicta of those in the minority, were that they didn't believe that in the political views of the majority, which is different from saying that you're ruling on the Constitution. The court should not be a place for partisanship. It should be a place for interpreting the Constitution.
Well, yeah, interpreting the law. That's what they're supposed to do instead of making new law. But, when there's bad law, and I'm reading a book right now, it's called 20 Supreme Court cases that changed the face of America. Fascinating book. And of course, they're using Dred Scott and the Commerce case, Marbury and Jackson, appointing Supreme Court justices. And they're using Plessy and some others. I tell you, that Plessy case and that Dred Scott case, I don't know what these people were thinking about, but they thought that black people were not human, obviously. I mean,
and what's fascinating about that, even with the ideology of the time, there is nothing in the Constitution, even the original Constitution before the amendments, that recognized the existence of slavery. Now, there were parts of the Constitution that talked about 2/3, that sort of thing, but there was never a portion of the Constitution that talked about the legitimacy of slavery, which means that the Dred Scott decision was very much like the liberal decisions of today. It was based more on the ideology of the times rather than on the law or the Constitution.
Well, that's an argument for discussion for another day, Frank. It has been wonderful having you with me, and I'll give you a call as soon as we get off the air, okay?
Charles, I look forward to our next discussion.
All right. Thank you. Thank you so much, my friend. Thank you, Frank Vernuccio. Hey, folks, we are done. We're through broadcasting. I'm going to put this up on YouTube, up on Facebook, so check it out. We'll be back tomorrow on Freedom Friday doing what we do. Take care.